Hello everyone, welcome to the live session on design of steel structures. My name is Saurav Kumar Singh and I am doing PhD from Department of Civil Engineering IIT Kharagpur. In this live session I am going to discuss about the week 0 assignment which is already available on the portal. So we can start here with question number 1. You can see that I have prepared solutions for you for your better understanding. So let us one by one we will discuss these questions. Now what is first question? Which of these expressions is the correct definition of the Hooke's law? And for your reference here it is given P equal to tensile force. These are actually notations. L equal to length of a solid bar, A equal to area of the bar, del equal to elongation of the bar, and E equal to modulus of elasticity of the material. And in options you are seeing that these notations have been used. So for your reference these are provided in the question so that you cannot misguided through this. So coming to the solution part, from the one-dimensional Hooke's law, what we know that stress is directly proportional to strain. Means you know that we can write it as stress is directly proportional to strain. Now when we are going to remove this proportionality sign, then a constant we have to add, and this constant is E, which is known as Young's modulus of elasticity or modulus of elasticity of the material. So sigma equal to stress and epsilon equal to strain, and strain we can represent as change in length upon my original length. So what is del here? Del is change in length and L is original length. Let me draw one figure for you for your clear understanding. Actually I am first time I am using this digital board, so have some patience because my figures is not going to be good, so but I will try from my side. So this is the bar, and here this is length of the bar, which we are indicating it as L. Now when we are going to axially give a tensile force over this, then what will happen? This length will increase. This will come like so. Let us assume that its length is increased by how much length? From the length del. So strain is del upon L. So after putting this strain value in equation 1, we will get stress equal to E into del into L. Further, we know that stress is equal to load upon my area, means load what we are applying, and here we are applying P load, which is mentioned in the question. Tensile force P is acting, and A is the area of the bar. Which area of the bar? Cross sectional area of the bar, means this cross sectional area of the bar. So this is also a stress and this is also a stress. So after equating equation 2 and 3, we will get del equal to, and what is del? Elongation of the bar. Del equal to PL upon me AE. So our correct option is B, which is del equal to PL upon me AE. Now moving towards next question. In second question it has been asked that what is Young's modulus of steel? So we all know that 2 into 10 to the power 5 megapascal is the correct value for the Young's modulus of steel. And here for your reference I have added one figure which is stress versus strain curve for mild steel. Here you can see that there are several points which has been marked over the curve: A, B, C, D, E, U and F. What are these points? This A point represents proportionality limit. Let me write it for you. A equal to proportionality limit. So what is this proportionality limit? Up to a point, when we are stretching a material, means when we are applying a stress, applying a tensile force over the material, then what will happen? This curve will start like this. Okay, so up to point A, it will follow Hooke's law. And what we know from Hooke's law, we know that stress is proportional to strain. So from this point, let us say this point as 0 or O. So at point, from point O to A, this is stress is proportional to strain. So material is following Hooke's law. Now this point B is elastic limit. Let me write it for you. Elastic limit means in from point A to B, material is still in elastic range, but it will not follow Hooke's law. Means linearity is not available here for the point A to B. Actually, in actual practice, when we are going to do this practical in a lab, then these 2 points, we will obtain these 2 points very close to each other. After that, there is a point C, and C is known as upper yield point. What is C? Upper yield point. And D is lower yield point. So when we are talking about yield stress of a material, then we consider point D as the yield stress of the material. Means stress corresponding to this point, point D, that we are representing it from Fy. So we are taking D as lower yield point, and this is the our yield stress value. Then you will think that why we are not taking C as the yield point value? This is also upper yield point. So why we are taking D as the yield stress value? So reason behind taking D as the yield stress value is point D is a stable point. Means you can see that from D to E, this is a flat line. Means here you can say that yield plateau is forming between D to E. So let me write D to E, yield plateau. Now after E there is a point U. So corresponding to U, we get ultimate stress. So point U is point for ultimate stress, and F denotes the fracture. So from D to E, from E to U, there is a strain hardening. So let me draw here. From this point to this point, this region is strain hardening, and from U to F, this is necking. Means what will happen in the material when we are applying load after this point U, then material will start in our body. What is neck? Neck is the narrowest portion in our body. So like that it will become narrow, 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 and after finally it will break. So this is F is the fracture point, and what this region is called U to F is necking. So now coming to the next question. Question 3. Characteristic values, load or stresses are defined as the values that are not expected to be exceeded within the life of the structure with more than and options are 2%, 2.5%, 10% and 5%. So correct answer is 5%. You may know from the RCC that what is characteristic strength means. Suppose you are casting 100 concrete cubes, okay. So let us suppose you are getting value, 1 minute. So let us suppose you are getting value like 22.5, 26, 29 and 21.9, 25, like that you are getting 100 values. So what you have observed that this value 25, below 25 only 5 cubes have its compressive strength below 25, means out of 100 cubes which you have casted, only 5 cubes have its compressive strength value less than this value 25. So this 25 is your characteristic strength, means 5% of the result is falling below this point, that is 25. So 25 we are reporting as its characteristic strength. Now coming to the next question. Question 4. Loading condition and cross section of a simply supported beam is shown in figure below. Calculate the elastic section modulus about ZZ axis. So here you can see that there is a simply supported beam and a point load is acting here. Magnitude of this point load is P and it is acting at its center C, and this is the cross section of this beam which is shown here, which is having width B and depth D. So this is the ZZ axis, and what question is asking? Question is asking to find out elastic section modulus about ZZ axis. So in order to find elastic section modulus about ZZ axis, we have to find out moment of inertia of this rectangular section about ZZ axis. So about ZZ axis we know that for rectangular section its moment of inertia will be BDQ by 12, okay. So elastic section modulus of a rectangular section is given by ZEZ is equal to this IZZ upon में D by 2. So what is D by 2? D by 2 is the distance between this neutral axis point, means this ZZ axis point, and top or bottom of the rectangular section. So total depth is D, so this half depth is D by 2. So ZEZ is equal to BDQ upon 12 upon me D by 2, that equals to BD square by 6. So correct option is A. Now moving towards next question. Consider the statement in question 4. Obtain the expression of the stress induced at point M of the cross section at mid span. So what is point M? So here in this figure you can see that this is point M, and distance of this point from neutral axis is represented by R, small r. So now as we have seen in this figure that this is a simply supported beam and a point load is acting at center of the beam. So when you are going to draw BMT of this beam, then it will be like let me draw it for you. Actually this is I'm unable to draw it correctly. I will try again. So this is the bending moment diagram. Now where maximum bending moment will occur? Maximum bending moment will occur under this point load. So and its magnitude will be PL by 4. So let me go towards next slide. So first of all, we have calculated here bending moment at point C, that we are representing from MC and is equal to PL upon 4. All of you from strength of material class know how to find out bending moment of a simply supported beam having point load. And already we have we know that moment of inertia of that rectangular section about ZZ axis is BD cube upon में 12. So from bending equation, what is the bending equation? Bending equation is from strength of material class. We know that bending equation can be written as m upon में, sorry, this is the problem with this writing board. M upon में I is equal to sigma upon में y is equal to E upon में R. So here we have to calculate bending. From bending equation we have to what question is asking, obtain the expression of the stress induced at point M. So this is stress, sigma is stress, so sigma is equal to M into y upon में I. So M into y upon में I. So already we have calculated value of M, that is PL by 4. I is equal to BD cube by 12. And what is y? Y is the distance. Let me show you. This is y, distance between neutral axis and the point at which in question it has been asked. So this distance is r. So we have written it here r. So after substituting these values we get it as 3 PLR upon BD cube, and this is option C. So correct option is option C. Moving towards next question, question 6. Long columns fail due to. Long columns fail due to why? From direct stress, from buckling stress, from lateral stress, from tensile stress. So from Euler's buckling theory we know that long columns fail due to buckling stress. Now what is buckling? I have described here little bit. Buckling is the sudden uncontrolled lateral displacement of a column at which point no additional load can be supported. Means if this is a long column, let us assume that this is a long column and axial load is acting here. Its magnitude, say its magnitude is P. So when this load will act on this long column, then what will happen? This column will fail due to buckling. Means tendency of this column will be buckle like this. So a small amount of lateral force, means from this direction if any force is acting, or due to eccentricity in this load which is acting over here, so eccentricity in this load will buckle this column and this column will fail under buckling. So buckling is the sudden uncontrolled lateral displacement and it cannot be controlled. So that's why it is written here sudden uncontrolled lateral displacement of a column at which point no additional load can be supported. When buckling will start, column is not able to take any load. Second point, long column fails due to buckling at stress levels that are below the elastic limit of the column material. Let us suppose elastic limit of the column material is Fy. Yield stress we are representing it as from Fy. So here you can suppose that there is some elastic limit of the column material, and due to buckling this column will fail beyond means it will not reach up to its elastic limit. Before that it will fail. And in case of short column fails due to crushing, because in short columns extremely large loads are required for column to buckle. Means failure criteria for short column is crushing. If you want if you are thinking that why short column is not failed due to buckling, then for short column to buckle extremely large quantity of load is required, and before reaching that quantity column will fail due to crushing. So that's why buckling will not happen in short column and it will fail by crushing. And there is a difference in long column and short column, that in case of long columns, due to buckling at stress levels that are below the elastic limit, but the short column, when the short column will fail, then it will reach to the elastic limit or it will cross the elastic limit, not before that. So this is the basic difference. Question 7. The slenderness ratio is the ratio of effective length to least. This is actually a definition of slenderness ratio. So let us see here. Slenderness ratio is a geometrical parameter defined for a compression member like column. It is the ratio of effective length and the radius of gyration. So this option is correct, radius of gyration. Now in discussion forum, one student has asked that what is slenderness ratio. So I think this is clear now that what is slenderness ratio. It is a geometrical parameter and it is defined for compression members, and mathematically it is represented as effective length upon my radius of gyration. Now point is, what is radius of gyration, or it is sometimes also called as guy radius of a body. So what is this? So gyration, radius of gyration about an axis of rotation is defined as the radial distance of a point from the axis of rotation at which, if the whole mass of the body is assumed to be concentrated, its moment of inertia about the given axis would be the same as with its actual distribution of mass. Let me explain this. One minute, let me draw one figure for you. Let us suppose this is a circular disc of radius r, and this axis is passing through the center of the disc. Now let us assume that mass of this disc is small m. So what is radius of gyration? First of all, let us assume that it's we are representing moment of inertia of this disc as I equal to, let us suppose it is beta. Moment of inertia of this disc we are supposing as beta, and total mass of this disc is small m. Now let me draw complete this figure. Now let us assume that this is a point mass m. This is a point mass whose value is m, same as this mass of this disc. This is the distance k. Now this k distance should be such that moment of inertia of this system will be equal to moment of inertia of this system. Means we are taking a point mass. This time this is not a complete disc, we are only taking a point mass here, and this point mass is this point mass is at the distance k, and this k distance should be such that moment of inertia of this system will be equal to moment of inertia of this system. Means moment of inertia of this system is let us suppose is I dash is equal to b. So moment of inertia of these two systems are equal. So the distance at which this mass m is kept, that is distance k, is called radius of gyration of this system. Means we are putting this mass m at such a distance so that its moment of inertia of this system will be equal to moment of inertia of this system. So this k is called radius of gyration of this system. So now I think that it can be understandable. Now moving towards next slide. Question 8. What is the moment of inertia of a rectangular section, width equal to b, depth equal to d, with respect to an axis passing through its base? So here in this figure you can see that this is a rectangular section and this is neutral axis of this rectangular section. This is the axis which is passing through its base. So here I have written it as base axis. Its width is b and total depth is d. So they are not, this time they are not asking what is moment of inertia about this neutral axis. We already know that moment of inertia of this rectangular section when axis is passing through neutral axis is bt cube upon 12. But this time they are asking about base axis. We have to find out moment of inertia about this base axis. So this can be proved by application of the parallel axis theorem, considering that rectangle centroid is located at a distance equal to d by 2 from base. This centroid, neutral axis passing through the centroid, so this is at d by 2 from the base at half distance. So moment of inertia about base of the rectangular section, moment of inertia about this base axis is equal to moment of inertia about neutral axis which is passing through its centroid. So this is bd cube upon 12, we already know this, plus ah square. What is A? A is the cross sectional area of this section, cross sectional area A into h square. And what is h? H is the distance of neutral axis and this base axis up to where we have to ask to find out moment of inertia about which axis. So this distance is d by 2. So we are going to put all these values. So A equal to cross section area of this rectangle is b into d. So we have written here b into d into this h square is d by 2 whole square. So when we will calculate this, solve this, then we will get bd cube upon 3. So correct answer is this C, bd cube upon 3. Now going to the next question. Question 9. The stress corresponding to 0.2% of strain in the stress strain curve of mild steel is known as. Actually, see, in case of mild steel, here is some in mild steel actually yield point is clearly visible. So this proof stress is basically for those materials in which yield stress is not clearly visible. So I think there is one correction in this question. So let us come to the solution part. The stress at which the material undergoes plastic deformation is known as proof stress of the material. Means after that stress point, material is not in elastic phase, it is in plastic range. So means after that whatever deformation will happen, material is not going to regain its original shape. Okay, so that is why it is called as plastic deformation. Up to elastic deformation, when load will be removed, then material will regain its original shape. But in this case it will not going to regain its original shape and size. So proof stress is determined for those materials whose yield point cannot be easily defined, like materials aluminium, magnesium, copper. So this is suppose stress versus strain curve of any of these materials. So this is like this. So how we are going to find out proof stress? Actually for these type of material in which yield stress is not clearly visible, so for these type of materials we use the term called proof stress. And how we are finding this term proof stress? So we will draw a straight line from this point A. We are going to draw a tangent over here. So this is the this dotted line is the tangent at point O. So after that we are according from the offset method, what we are doing, this is the axis of strain. So we are moving this line towards this, and these two lines, actually you can see that these two dotted lines are parallel to each other. So where after shifting this line up to 0.2%, this line will cut this strain versus stress versus strain curve at this point. So corresponding to this point where this is cutting this stress versus strain curve, we are getting value of stress. So this is the value of stress here, this point. So this is the corresponding whatever stress we are getting here, so this is called as proof stress. So for these material, yield point is not clearly visible in stress versus strain curve, and you have seen that these two lines are offset to each, so it is also called as offset yield stress. Now coming to the last question, Euler's formula holds good only for short column, long column, both short and long columns, none of the above. Actually this is one of the assumption made in the Euler's column theory. So Euler's formula is for the long columns, so option B is correct. So what are the assumptions? Let us recall what are the assumptions of Euler's column theory. First assumption is the column is initially perfectly straight and load is applied axially. So column should be perfectly straight and load is applied. Here in drawing there is some error, so assume that this is a straight line and load is applied axially and this column is straight. The cross section of the column is uniform throughout its length. Cross section of the column is uniform means if you are going to check cross section about here, or you can check here or here or here, any point, so its cross section area will be same at each and every point. So second point is the cross section of the column is uniform throughout its length. Third, the column material is perfectly elastic, homogeneous and isotropic and obeys Hooke's law. Means obeys Hooke's law is stress is directly proportional to strain. So this should be, we have to obey this. Fourth is the length of the column is very large as compared to its lateral dimensions. Means length of the column is large as compared to its lateral dimensions, means it is long column. Means its length is very large than compared to this lateral dimension. The direct stress is very small as compared to the bending stress. So what is direct stress? Suppose you are applying this load P, and at this section, let us say section 1,1, at this section 1,1 you are getting value of you are getting stress at this section. You have calculated stress at this section. So this is direct stress which we are getting. But let us suppose in case of beam, when you have studied in strength of material this bending of beam, and let us suppose that this is neutral axis of this beam. So this beam is under pure bending. So when we are going to draw, actually this is neutral axis. So above neutral axis we know that upper part is under compression and below the neutral axis it is under tension. So its stress distribution is like this is inside compression and this is, I don't have much space to write here, so here like this tension and here like this compression. So this stress which is generated is indirect stress or bending stress, and here we are getting stress is what it is direct stress. So for this case it is saying that the direct stress is very small as compared with the bending stress. The self weight of the column is neglected. Weight of this column we are neglecting. The column will fail by buckling only. means this column, as this is long column, so we know that long column will only fail by buckling, because before reaching crushing point, it will, before that it will buckle. So this column will fail by buckling. So I think I have tried to make these questions understandable to you, and for the first time I am using this online platform and this digital writing board. So I know that my handwriting is not looking good here and my diagrams are not perfect. So sorry for this. Uh, I will try now from next class to make this more compatible. So that's all for today. Thank you. Thank for your time.